You know, whenever I think about Hollywood couples, there are only a handful that people really invest their emotions in. Like, sure, we've seen a million pairings come and go, but when it comes to Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively, there's always been this sense that they were above the drama, like they were the one golden couple everyone could root for. The playful banter, the sarcastic birthday posts, the red carpet charm, it all gave off the vibe that these two were rock solid. And for over a decade, that image worked. Fans believed in it, magazines celebrated it, even other celebrities pointed to them as an example of how to keep love alive in the industry. But now, suddenly, the narrative is shifting. Whispers are turning into blinds, blinds are turning into headlines, and it feels like that picture-perfect marriage may actually be hanging by a thread. And the more I think about it, the more it makes sense, because when you strip away the Instagram jokes and the polished appearances, maybe they're just another couple who's been worn down by time, fame, and scandal. The big story that kicked this whole conversation into overdrive was Blake supposedly being barred from Ryan's most recent premiere. Now, I don't care how Hollywood tries to spin that word, barred is not something you just brush off. It doesn't mean she stayed home to tuck the kids in, it doesn't mean she was busy with a photo shoot. Barred means she wasn't welcome, and for a couple that has always branded themselves as this united front, that one word is devastating. Because if you're not even welcome at your husband's premiere, what does that say about the state of the marriage? To me, it says the problems have boiled over to a point where even appearances can't cover them up anymore. And that's a dangerous place for any celebrity couple to be, because image is everything. Now, Ryan himself isn't exactly innocent in this situation. Remember that clip of him being short with a kid on the red carpet? It was supposed to be playful, but it came across as harsh and awkward. It showed us a version of Ryan that doesn't fit with the witty, lovable Deadpool persona we're all used to seeing. And it made me wonder, if this is how he acts publicly, how much sharper or more dismissive can he be in private? Sometimes little moments reveal more than we realize, and I think that side of Ryan is part of what's been putting strain on the relationship. Because if Blake was already feeling unsupported or embarrassed by him, then having more of those public slip-ups would just push her further away. And then you add the kids into the mix. 4 children. That's a whole other layer of pressure most people underestimate. Raising kids in Hollywood is not the same as raising kids in a small town or even a regular suburban setting. Every move is scrutinized, every decision is judged. And on top of that, you've got to balance demanding careers, non-stop travel, paparazzi attention, and of course, the need to keep up this perfect image so the world doesn't start speculating. So if Blake and Ryan are really fighting, and if they've actually been living apart like some insiders claim, I can only imagine how hard it must be to shield their kids from all of this noise. I mean, I don't think their children are old enough to fully grasp what's being said in the media, but kids aren't blind. They feel tension. They notice when mum and dad don't share the same roof. And honestly, that's the saddest part of all of this, because while we get caught up in the gossip, it's their kids who deal with the reality. And then there's the Taylor Swift angle, which complicates everything even further. Blake and Taylor have been close for years, with Taylor even referencing Blake and Ryan in her music. Fans loved that crossover friendship. It gave Blake more relatability and made Ryan seem like he was part of Taylor's circle too. But rumors started swirling that their friendship hit a wall because of the Justin Baldoni lawsuit situation. Now, if you don't know much about that lawsuit, let me just say this. It's messy, and Ryan reportedly got way too involved. Not only did he make it personal, but he apparently even went as far as referencing it in one of his films as a dig at Baldoni. That kind of move doesn't just look petty, it makes you look unprofessional. And when you're married to someone as high profile as Blake, your actions reflect on her too. Suddenly, she's dragged into drama she didn't start, and the humiliation builds. It's no wonder there were headlines saying Blake felt humiliated by Ryan's behavior. Because think about it. When your partner's actions don't just affect your private life, but also spill over into your career and public image, it's exhausting. And humiliation is a hard emotion to forgive. Anger fades, annoyance fades, but when someone makes you feel small or embarrassed in front of the world, that leaves a scar. So if Blake really feels humiliated, that explains why insiders are now claiming they barely talk and haven't lived together for a year. They might still be trying to save face of the cameras, but behind closed doors, the foundation is cracked. And the fighting, oh, the fighting. Sources have said it's constant now, that the playful jabs and sarcastic digs they were once known for have turned into full-blown nasty arguments. It's one thing to joke about your spouse online, it's another thing entirely when those jokes morph into hurtful words behind closed doors. Apparently the F-bombs aren't light-hearted anymore. They're venom. They cut, they bruise, and they drain both people. And I think anyone who's been in a relationship like that knows, once you cross that line, it's almost impossible to go back to how it was before. The resentment builds too high, the intimacy disappears. And what you're left with is a shell of the marriage that you're both clinging to out of obligation, habit, or in this case, public image. Now here's what I find really interesting. For a couple like Blake and Ryan, announcing a split isn't just about ending a relationship, it's a business decision. Their brand has been built on being this funny, loving pair who support each other through everything. If they go public with a breakup, they don't just risk hurting their family, they risk tanking their brand value. Fans feel betrayed when a golden couple breaks up. Brands hesitate to sign them for endorsement. Future projects get clouded by the divorce narrative. So I actually believe the blinds that say they're holding off on an official announcement because they don't want their already shaky public image to get worse. It makes sense. It's sad, but it makes sense. And it really does feel like a turning point for the public too. Because think about how much people have projected onto Blake and Ryan over the years. They were the couple that gave fans hope. They were the ones you'd point to and say, see, maybe Hollywood relationships can work. And if they can't make it, it feeds into that cynicism that love in the spotlight just isn't built to last. It's almost like losing faith in the fairy tale. And I know that sounds dramatic, but celebrity culture runs on these illusions. When they collapse, people feel it. So where does this leave them? That's the million-dollar question. Maybe they quietly work things out. Maybe they try therapy, maybe they pull back from the spotlight, maybe they find a way to rebuild what they lost. Or maybe they just keep up the act until their kids are older and the timing feels safer to go public. Or worst case scenario, things get so bad that it all blows up in public. The divorce filings, the custody disputes, the leaks, the ugly headlines. Nobody wants to see that, but we all know Hollywood divorces rarely stay clean. And I can't help but feel like if they really are at each other's throats every day, it's only a matter of time before something slips and the truth comes out. At the end of the day, I think what makes this story so fascinating is how it forces us to separate image from reality. Blake and Ryan spent years convincing us they were the perfect couple, but if all of this is true, then behind the curtain it's toxic, bitter and broken. And maybe that's a reminder to all of us not to idolize people just because they look happy on Instagram or because they give good interviews. You never know what's really happening behind closed doors. And honestly, even though I talk about the drama here, I don't want them to fall apart. I don't want their kids to go through that. I'd rather be wrong. I'd rather this all just be exaggerated gossip. But if it isn't, then maybe the fairy tale is already over. And maybe the image of the golden couple was never as real as we thought. And I guess that's the sad truth about Hollywood. No matter how perfect something looks on the outside, there's always a chance the inside is falling apart. So maybe the real lesson here is to stop expecting celebrities to live up to these impossible images we create for them. Because behind the fame, they're just people trying to figure it out like everyone else. And sometimes, figuring it out means admitting that even love stories we thought were unshakable can come to an end.